It's not every day that someone gets permission to exercise a natural-born right and complains about it, but that is exactly what happened recently in Indiana. A blind man who didn't even need to apply for a permit in a constitutional carry state filled out an application for a gun license and got mad when the state gave it to him. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we have a strange story about a man who tried to use his disability to make a point that disabled people shouldn't have the same rights as everyone else, and then was shocked and outraged when the government allowed him to exercise his rights. I feel like there are bigger hills to die on, but here we are. State is gonna state, and bootlicker's always gonna want them to tread harder. Terry Sutherland said he pulled the stunt to try and prove a point about Indiana's lax gun laws and start a conversation. Now his conversation is that Indiana needs a training requirement so that people with disabilities can't protect themselves. But he says he's not against the Second Amendment. But before I get into the details of how this all went down, I'd like to tell you about a company that I recently signed up with, and that is Ammo Squared, an automated ammo subscription model that makes sure you have ammo when you want it. But unlike traditional subscription services, you aren't forced into a set budget or monthly shipments. You pick your calibers, what you want to use them for, how much or how little you're looking to spend each month, and pick a shipping trigger. All ammo is factory new from brands that you trust and stored in a climate-controlled environment until you are ready to have it shipped to your door. They have over 70 calibers to choose from, no minimum to buy, and no extra fees. All orders are shipped out in 1 to 2 business days, and all orders of $250 or more are shipped completely free. So shout out to Ammo Squared for being a friend to this channel. Now back to Mr. Sutherland. As I said in the intro, Indiana is a constitutional carry state, so that means that it is legal for anyone 18 and up to own a gun. The state offers permits for people who might want them for whatever reason or have reciprocity with other states. Before constitutional carry, Indiana was a shall issue state, meaning so long as you weren't a prohibited person, you would be approved, which is the way that it should be if you have to have a licensing scheme. Sutherland isn't a prohibited person, so it makes sense that he got his permit. Per WISH Indianapolis, Sutherland was using his sightseeing stick when he went to the city-county building to get fingerprinted for the permit. He said he spoke with several people who knew that he was blind. It just went very smoothly and normally, and nobody seemed to think anything about it. It was mind-boggling. It shocked me more than I expected. I thought at the last second somebody would go, wait a minute, and it would just not get approved. I'd get a letter that explained, listen, you can't aim a gun or put a bullet where it's supposed to go, so we're not going to give you this permit, Sutherland said. That didn't happen. Now his license to carry permit sits in a lanyard around his neck. As if it's a talking piece. But he also admits that he grew up in a pro-gun household and learned proper gun safety as a teenager before he went blind. So he pretty much just defeated his own argument. He says that he can't have a driver's license, so he shouldn't be able to own a gun. But there's a pretty big fundamental difference here. First of all, driving a car is not a right. Second, owning a gun isn't just about having something in your material possession, it's about being able to defend yourself from danger. Or the government, which I don't think is a concern for this guy. And if someone is breaking into your house and, say, is actively attacking you, it doesn't matter whether or not you can hit a paper target at 15 or 20 yards. You don't have to see to be able to take your gun from your waistband and shove it into the chest or belly of your attacker. Like, I mean, if he's right there, he's right there. I mean, obviously being blind or having a disability doesn't mean that you don't understand gun safety. He himself is a perfect example. He supposedly understands gun safety despite having a disability. There's also a pretty big difference between being legally blind and actually being completely unable to see. People who are legally blind often still have some vision and quite enough to be able to ward off an attacker in their home, especially if the dude's like right on top of them. And if we're going to tie sight or disability to gun ownership, well, What happens if someone needs glasses or contacts? Are we going to say that they can't own a gun because they can only see 6 inches in front of their face without their glasses on? Case in point. Because then you could say the argument is, oh, well, what if they wear contacts and wake up in the middle of the night? Or what if their glasses fall off? What if their glasses break or they run out of their contacts prescription? Are the cops gonna come knocking and say, oh, sorry, sir or ma'am, you cannot have your gun now? No. No. Putting restrictions like that on a right open up a very slippery slope, and I realize those last examples were hyperbole, but that's essentially what it comes down to. It opens things up to someone somewhere deciding what counts as a disability and when, making up standards as to how disabled you have to be to protect your own life, and essentially saying your blindness, deafness, whatever, makes you a second-class citizen, and that is generally something that's frowned upon in our society. I mean, come on, really. You can't see enough, so your life doesn't matter enough to defend yourself in a life or death situation. You're essentially arguing eugenics. An easier solution would be this. If Sutherland doesn't think that he's well enough to carry a gun or responsible enough to carry a gun, well, then he doesn't have to carry one. I just solved the problem. I mean, really, no one is going out there and saying, well, you have a disability and you have a disability and you have a disability, so you have to go apply for a gun permit. Now, Sutherland says that he has been writing his representatives, which, unless he is using speech-to-text software or someone else is doing it for him, means he can see well enough to write or type, asking them to change the laws. Thankfully, so far, none of them have responded in his favor. Well, there's always something out there for someone to be angry about. That is it for this video, guys. You know the drill for all of the algorithm things. Please like, share, and subscribe if you are new here. Ring that notification bell and leave a comment down below. And as always, thanks for tuning in. Stay safe out there and happy shooting. Even if you can't see for crap.